वेलकम टू नेशन स्टेट डायलॉग सीरीज राष्ट्र राज्य संवाद श्रृंखला में आपका स्वागत है. 欢迎收看民族国家对话系列. I'm Dr. Geeta Kochar, moderator for today's discussion. So today it's our great pleasure to have with us Professor Shen Dingli. Professor Shen Dingli is a member of Grandview Institution's Academic Committee and its director of Center for American Studies. He is a professor emeritus and professor executive dean at Fudan University's Institute of International Studies and former director of Center for American Studies. He is also an honorary visiting professor of Washington University in St. Louis. He has taught international security, China-U.S. relations, China foreign and defense policy in China, the U.S. and the semester at East program. His research and publications cover China-U.S. security relations, regional security, international strategy, arms control and non-proliferation, foreign and defense policy of China and the US, etc. He was vice president of Chinese Academy of South Asian Studies, Shanghai Association of International Studies, Shanghai Association of International Strategic Studies, Shanghai Association of American Studies, Shanghai UN Research Association, and Shanghai Public Policy Research Association. He received his PhD in physics from Fudan in 1989 and did his postdoc in arms control at Princeton University from 1989 to 1991. He is on the Global Council of the Asia Society and on the International Advisory Board of Asia Pacific Leadership Network for nuclear non-proliferation and disarmament. He has been appointed by both Shanghai and Hangzhou municipality as convention ambassador respectively. He has co-edited 17 books and published over 2,500 papers and articles worldwide. So you know he's that well known across the globe. So welcome, Professor Shen Dingli, for our discussion.
Thank you for inviting me. Nice to meet you.
Yes, it's a pleasure again to meet you. So, okay, let me start with the hot topic which everyone wants to look at. So, how do you see Trump's visit to China, and what are the achievements and setbacks for China?
Well, I think in terms of formality and in terms of the substance, so I would describe these two items. First, formality. This is the first such a visit between China and the U.S. For the past 9 years. The first year of President Trump, first term, 2017, Chinese president came to his compound in Florida in April, 3 months after he became the president. This is the first such a visit so soon after a U.S. new president becomes the president. And that went very well. And Trump paid a reciprocal visit to China in November 2017. So around a reciprocal visit, that was a great moment in 2017. And this time, not that great, because last year, Trump invited the Chinese president to visit him on his inauguration. China did not accept. China invited him to the September 9th parade in honor of the 80th anniversary of China's victory against Japan's aggression. He did not accept. But luckily, for the second year of his second term, he came. And he announced during the state banquet 2 days ago, that he would invite the Chinese president to pay a reciprocal state visit of this September 24th. China has not announced this has been fixed, but without China's consent, he was not going to announce it on a state banquet. So this year, again, China-U.S. president would visit each other on a state visit level. That was great to restore the greater relationship 9 years ago. And I would also point, under the 4 years of President Biden, zero visit between China and U.S. Biden did not come to China anytime, and my president did not visit the U.S. anytime. He only came to U.S. for an APEC, where he met President Biden, but there was no specific visit. So in terms of the formality, great, to restore the great relationship between two great nations. And China paid extraordinary respect to President Trump by sending vice president to the airport to greet him. To what I know, this is the third time in China's history, I mean China since 1949, third time. One time, Vice President Dong Biwu going to airport to receive the then king of Ethiopia, an African country, and to greeting, welcoming American president. But the second of the two was devoted to President Trump. That was an extraordinary honor for Trump. And Trump brought Secretary of State, Secretary of War, Secretary of Treasury. Never before we see any U.S. president would bring both Secretary of War, they used to call Secretary of Defense, and Secretary of State, we call Foreign Minister, to travel with him. So this is America's extraordinary visit to another country. So both show very a great importance to each other. So this is what I would say, the formality. Second thing is substance. Substance not that great. For the enduring headache between China and the U.S., what China called the most important and sensitive issues between China and the U.S., namely the so-called Taiwan issue. Zero progress. And China probably hoped the U.S. would moderate its rhetoric, its action, by redefining its one China policy, somehow toward China's one China principle. I don't see U.S. has agreed. That has not been such any possible modification has not been shown in China's state briefing. And the U.S. White House briefing has not mentioned the Taiwan issue at all. That does not mean the leaders have not discussed the issue of Taiwan. But for the Chinese side, there's nothing worthy of our reporting. U.S. has made its even tiniest, modest modification. And the U.S. simply does not mention it because this is a very important issue. Trump would raise it anyway, even if China would not raise it. But he hoped that China would not attack Taiwan before he would step down on January 20th, 2029. Apparently, China has not responded to what he would like. So this is an issue both countries attaching great importance to discuss for day one and for day two, but they made no compromise. And Trump, on his way back home, he was interviewed on an airplane, and he said, this issue was raised. But he did not tell Chinese side that he want to discuss it. Chinese side may have asked him if some contingency would break out, what the U.S. military would do, what American GRs would land in Taiwan. Trump said he is not going to discuss this. He just wanted China to assure nothing bad would happen. And China want to let him say bad thing would happen or not happen. He did not say anything. So of course, in my understanding, China would not say anything. And we would not do anything before the day you would step down. And he said, he may reconsider the arms sale to Taiwan, the 14 billion US arms sale the Congress has approved, but that's up to him to sign. He may reconsider, but he would say he would soon announce such a sale. So possibly he would reduce the amount, or possibly he would divide that bigger lump sum into a few smaller groups. We will see what would happen. I would hope for the best, but I would be prepared for the worst. The two countries have discussed something on trade and export control, rebalancing, extending of the deadline of strategic supply chain, etc. That sounds good, but we have not heard from any country, from the stated briefing, what a specific KPI they can leak. Presumably, China's Vice Premier He Lifeng has made some deal with Secretary of Commerce Basant in Seoul on March 12th, a day before Trump landed in Beijing. But the two countries so far have not announced what progress they have made. Only Trump has indicated in an informal way that he may have secured 200 Boeing jumbo aircraft from Chinese side. But China has not confirmed this. I would presume the two countries have agreed more than this, but they decided not to announce at this time. So I'm hopeful there are some progress, and I'm also joyful for the deal the two countries have made in Beijing on the issue of Iran. China has made some statement. America has made more statement on what China has agreed to America on the issue of Iran, namely, both countries strongly cannot accept Iran to apply nuclear weapon. China has never said before, strongly. Of course, we do not agree with India's acquisition of nuclear weapon, Pakistan acquisition of nuclear weapon, North Korean acquisition of nuclear weapon. And we never said anything on Israel. But at this time we say China-U.S. strongly are against Iran's nuclear weapon program. If this is right, U.S. has not made fake news. I think this is a big commitment, strongly. Then what is action to follow the strong commitment? Second, China seems to have said not to appreciate or totally cannot accept Iran's collecting a fee for any ships to transit through Hormuz Strait. I'm not sure if China has said. If U.S. said, China has said is right. U.S. said is not a fake news. That's a big statement. China would be against Iran's collecting of the toll. Third, the U.S. said, and China is going to buy more U.S. energy. That I can believe. But the U.S. has also said, given current tension in the Gulf area, China is possible to reduce its energy dependence upon the area. China has not said that. But if the U.S. has said correctly what China has said to the U.S. internally, I think that's also a kind of commitment that's good for America, that's not good for the Gulf, and possibly for Iran. And anyway, for any of this U.S. China's position and China's statement on China's position, I think China and the U.S. now have more common grounds on the Iran issue. That's good. So these are my summary of the formality and the policy follow on of this historical summit.
But Professor Shen, there are two things which become very significant. One is President Xi Jinping raised the issue of Thucydides trap, right? in your opinion, how do you see this theory affecting China, and what are China's options for it? And second thing is that you mentioned about Taiwan. Some of the Chinese scholars are saying that US position on Taiwan has shifted a little bit from the status quo to not having any conflict with China. So how do you assess this in terms of US policy on Taiwan?
Well, different people have a different take of the position. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said, U.S. position has no change. So since no change, why some people would say some change? But I do see some change. That is to discuss with China on the issue of U.S. arms sale to Taiwan. This is a violation of some key component of U.S. One China policy. One China policy has three components, has 5 documents. One is the 3 communiques China and the U.S. jointly announced. But the 2 countries have different reading from these 3 same documents. The first document is Taiwan Relation Act, which commits the U.S. to help defend Taiwan. But how to defend Taiwan, it does not say. It's up to future leader to make a decision. But the U.S. hinted that Taiwan issue is an American issue. And the 5th document, 5th U.S. official position is 6 assurances to Taiwan on the arms sale issue. One of the 6 assurances was never to discuss this with mainland China. U.S. a sovereign country, U.S. decide if, when, and how to provide a weapon to Taiwan. U.S. is not going to discuss this with anybody except Taiwan. But this time, Trump seemed to have said that's a remote position. 1982, that was a position 44 years ago. That was an ancient position, out of date, obsolete. So he may not observe the Reagan's position. So he take whatever is necessary to become a current position. Discuss and a possible modification, which is to reduce some of the so-called 14 billion US dollar arms sale, first batch of this year's approval, to be followed by second batch, 6 billion, in total 20 billion US dollar, doubling what he approved last year, 11 billion he approved in the end of last year. So this year, at least the US total sale of weapon to Taiwan would double what the US did last year. He may reduce, but he never said he would reduce. He may have said he would reconsider, but he would push it. So there are a range of policy adjustment. He would sign, but with a reduced amount, with less advanced weaponry. Or he would sign no change of quantity and quality. We do not know. Unless we see he would reduce some of the weapon and reduce the qualification, the quality of the weapon. I would see he has not made a substantial change. But at least he has modified the format of the U.S. One China policy. That is, the Taiwan arms sale issue is discussable, probably not negotiable, but at least is touchable, talkable. So I will continue, wait and see.
Okay, so I mean, another thing which is very significant and the world is watching is President Putin's visit to China now, just after President Trump came to China. So, what does this signal for international order and China's foreign policy in your view?
Well, I would say first in theory, second in practice. In theory, China-Russia relationship are China's best international relationship. Better than China-Pakistan, better than China-Vietnam, better than China-North Korea. It's a best relationship. So it's quite normal. Russian leader come to China like a visit to the relative. And the Chinese leader visited Russia like relatives, reciprocal, cordial, mutual visit. No strange. But that is in theory. In practice, why you come to China so soon after Trump's visit? So many strategists, many practitioners would never buy the theory that this is a normal visit. This must carry some other important issues. I am one of the second group. I don't buy the theory this is a regular visit. I think this is a special visit. One, China wants to assure Russia, we have not betrayed you. We have not sold you. Your relation with us is still more important than Americans' newly warmed relationship with us. So my friend, don't worry. We want to assure Russia we thank him to come to China so soon. Otherwise, we at least need to send an envoy. Or my president would come to Russia just for one purpose, not as a regular visit, but to assure them nothing bad happened. We defend your interest on your war on Ukraine. We defend your interest. And so I want to make a trip to Moscow to explain, to brief what has happened. Thank you for coming to China to save my time. Then I can receive you to tell you the same thing, but you save my time. I thank you. Second, for whatever China can brief Russia, we may tell them. But probably there are some issues. That's China's secrets. China would never tell anyone, including Putin. Just like him, he may have not told China about his war against Ukraine. So Chinese foreign ministry leader used to say, we asked the Russians, they did not tell us. This may be a lie. They told us, but we pretend we have not. They have not told. But this may be true. They have not told us. But why we have to tell every bit of China's national secrets to you? So we may not tell them everything they want to know. Every country, even the two best countries, they have some small secrets to guard, to defend. So Russians just want to know what's the level, the new level of your relationship. What American assurance? American would no longer defend Taiwan. American would no longer sell weapons to Taiwan. Whether America has internally told you America is against the Taiwan independence, but ask you not to announce. So you know America has assured you, but for Americans' face, America want to assure Taiwan, assure Americans' ally like Japan. So America would not announce it. And America has asked China not to announce, could you tell us Americans internally told you they are going to abandon Taiwan? If your relationship would be lifted to that level, then you may no longer count on Russia that much. So they are worried. They want to know. So this is the secret. If China has secured the American commitment, whether China is willing to tell Russia, you are less important. We would less depend upon you. So you have to do better, to do more for us, because you are less important. There will be a very subtle psychological interaction between the countries. So given Russia's increasingly declining posture vis-a-vis Ukraine has the most strong armed force in Europe. Better than Germany, better than UK, better than France, best drone offensive force, best anti-drone defensive force. Except that they don't have a nuclear weapon. They are more powerful than Russia. Russia can be broken, can be defeated at any time. What's China's position? Vis-a-vis Russia, China used to say there is no top ceiling between the two relationships. There is only a gas station, 只有加油站，没有终点站。There is no destination. North Korea sent armed force going to Russia to fight against Ukraine. That might be viewed as a relationship without a ceiling. Russia understands China would not send armed force to defend Russia to beat Ukraine. But what you are going to do that may not justify your promise that there is no limit of the two relationships. And what about Iran? China has said in its official statement less about Iran, just a touch about the issue. But the U.S. said on behalf of China, China has said a word to the U.S. Iran may not be very happy, for U.S. has leaked. And Russia may ask China to clarify what the U.S. has briefed is true or fake news. What's China's internal thinking, real thinking? I think all this, Taiwan, U.S., Russia, Ukraine, and Iran, and China-Russia's traditional relationship, strategic partnership without an alliance, more than an alliance, 不是盟国，胜似盟国。所以 Russia must have these 4 or 5 key issues to ask and to try to probe the potential answer. And China would be busy to assure Russia no change, whether Russia would buy. So I think this would be a combination of promise and mutual hedging.
So, Professor Shen, let me take you to India, where India has a major concern right now when neither the Foreign Minister Wang Yi nor Vice President Han Zheng, any of the top leader, came for the BRICS Foreign Ministers meet. So there are worries that President Xi Jinping might also not come for the BRICS summit. In such a scenario, what is China's position on BRICS, and will there be any impact due to US-China deeper engagement?
Could you repeat your question?
I said, there are possibilities that President Xi Jinping might not also visit for the BRICS summit, as the Foreign Minister Wang Yi and any of the leaders did not come for the BRICS Foreign Ministers meet. So in such a scenario, what is China's position on BRICS, and will there be any impact due to US-China deeper engagement?
I think BRICS carries its own weight for itself. It's a part of China's instrument to push its envelope of the rebalancing of global power. What China has called a changing international order, 东升西降. Russian, China, India belong to the so-called political eastern part. US, Europe belong to the politically western part. So China need Russia, India, and all BRICS partners to strengthen our consolidarity our mutual cooperation, despite that members of the BRICS have some difference, especially between China and India. The two countries, their military fought in the last few years. Our direct flights used to be cut, and India used to not issue any visa to Chinese. And I applied for Indian visa, but the Indian Foreign Ministry, your Ministry of External Affairs, did not clear me in time, so I could not go to India this March. I hope this would be improved later on. But relationship between China and India just start to improve, have not restored to the time before COVID. So now China-Indian trust is being restored, but far resilient than the peak time several years ago. So China may think India is not wholeheartedly in supporting the BRICS essence. India wants both China and Russia and the U.S. And India thinks China does exactly the same. China needs both U.S., India, and Russia. So generally, we have the political agenda in working with BRICS members, but at the same time, we have other national interests to keep. So we have seen Chinese leader not to participate. India hosted global gathering a few years ago. And Indian side may have refused China's request to receive our leader for a state visit in conjunction with your hosted international gathering. So no country in the world has ever refused our request. If we host the international gala, G20 or APEC, if your leader would propose, may I take this time occasion to pay a state visit? I personally presume China would not refuse. China would feel honored. So since India may not care China that much, and even refused us, why we need to care India so much? China has a lot of time. China has had 5,000 years. China has enough time to come to let India believe if we asked for a state visit in conjunction to our participation of an Indian hosted international major conference. Please do not refuse again. Otherwise, we may not care that much, even at the cost of BRICS consolidarity. That's my answer.
So in terms of Russia proposing an RIC, that is Russia, India, China collaboration, in your opinion, what is China's position on it? And how does China view India for the long-term relationship? And how should we proceed for our bilateral relationship?
That's totally unrealistic. A former Russian prime minister used to propose the same thing, China, India, and Russia.
Yes.
But that never worked out.
Right.
Now, the relationship is even worse than that time when such a trilateral kind of a coalition was proposed. China and India had our mutual agreement that our border-based force should not patrol with a gun, should not shoot bullet. But that was broken in 2029, and a few years before that. India may blame China's troop violated our agreement. China charged India's force broke our agreement. So India need to try to take a more responsive position. You need China, you need Russia, you need America. So you need to balance this delicate interest better. Without have people's communication, face-to-face meeting, not good for that country, but fundamentally not good for India. Why you want to do something hurting India? At the same time, you can hurt other country. That's not a mature statecraft. So I hope Chinese side would listen to me, and whichever circumstance come to India, show our respect that India is a host, and show our sense of responsibility. We have problems that would be dealt with through bilateral format, but we would not bring bilateral difference into any possible multilateral platform. My government did not listen to me. So I would keep being self-critical to tell it, to change its emotion, its anger. It is willing to hurt China to tell, I cannot come to India. China should not continue to do this. India could do better. India has a civilization of 8,000 years. China has only 5,000 years. You are brother. We are younger brother. We imported Confucius from India to China. You are a place where our current spiritual soul, Confucianism, came from. I mean, Buddhism, not Confucius. There are some common ground, but I was referring to Buddhism. So you are a teacher. We are a student. Tell student how to be good student by behaving as a good teacher.
I think that's a very positive note. I hope, Professor Shen Dingli, it's not just you. We are also working to have good, India-China relations, because as scholars, we want engagement. We want, scholars to, discuss, have something like a track 2 or track, 1 diplomacy, rather than, direct to direct, leader to leader, engagement, which at times are problematic, and we are the bridge to resolve that. On that positive note, I thank you for joining our discussion. I hope our conversations keep continuing. And for all our viewers, please keep watching. There are many more interesting discussions we have lined up. And please keep liking our channel, subscribe to our channel, and be on the show. Please watch our discussions. And if you have any comments, please post that so that we know what needs to be done in future and what kind of engagements you would want to listen to. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
I thank Gita for inviting me. I send my greeting and a warm wish for all of the audience of this video, for your family happiness and for your country's future continuous great success.